This is it, folks. We're never going to be younger than we are today. And if you're close to 50 years old, older than 50 years old, you know what I mean. These are the years that I call the youth of our senior years. And it's super important that we make the most of each and every one of these days because we don't know how long that we have. And unfortunately, our health is probably not going to last as long as many of us think it will. The World Health Organization says that the average American, believe it or not, does not stay healthy into our 70s. If we were in Japan, it would be 72, 74. If we were in many parts of Europe, it would be 70 to 72. But here in the United States and also in Canada and Britain, the World Health Organization says that the average American has 66.1 years of healthy lifespan. So that's how much time we have until, we have a heart attack or a stroke or we find out we have a cancer diagnosis or for whatever reason. This is the age when the average American will lose their health. And then after that, we can still enjoy life. There's still hopefully a lot of life in front of us, but a big part of our life becomes staying as healthy as we can, becomes staying alive, frankly. So while we have this time, and that's really what this video is about, I want to encourage you to squeeze all the juice out of life, to squeeze all the juice out of the youth of your senior years, which for many of us is going to be about 55 years old until 65 to 70. Then we get into the middle age of our senior years, and then finally we get into the senior part of our senior years, where really job number one is staying alive, right? We may need help doing daily activities. So while we can go out, while we can do things, while we can be in a beautiful location like this and walk on this pebbled path, I want to encourage you to do that. All right, let's go for a walk here and let's continue talking about it. So, what are the things that are on your bucket list? What are the things that you've said, you know what? Someday I want to do this. Someday I want to do that. Because I want to encourage you and I want to share that for me and for many of you watching, someday is today. We're running out of some days. There's a great book. It's got a weird title, but it talks a lot about enjoying the time and enjoying your money that you've worked so hard to build up. Yes, it's there for financial security. Yes, it's there for our retirement, but it's also there for our enjoyment. And this is coming from somebody that's been a financial advisor for over 20 years. I'm now retired. Um, but sometimes my clients were surprised, oftentimes the last 3, 4, 5 years that you work, that's a time that your financial advisor is going to say, pile away the money. But oftentimes, if somebody already had enough money that they could fund the retirement that they wanted, and they were still planning on working a couple more years, I would say, to them, I'd say, instead of piling away the money, I want you to pile away the adventures. I want you to start checking the boxes on some of these adventures that you've said that you've always wanted to do. And hopefully you get another 20 years to do that. But if you don't, let's start doing it now. And in the youth of our senior years, it's also important that we start flexing our spending muscle. Many of us have been good savers our entire life, and that has served us well. It's given us a foundation, but that foundation is there for us to be able to enjoy our life to the fullest and to give us the freedom to do things. And it's not like you're going to turn a switch and one day you're going to go from being a good saver to spending money and this is the day, this is the time I've always waited for, and now I'm going to start spending money. I wish it worked that way, but it doesn't. So we have to start training ourselves ahead of time. We have to start flexing that spending muscle is what I used to like to tell my clients. And maybe one of the first steps is instead of saving money, instead of saving 10%, 15%, 20%, maybe half of that we start spending to do a trip, to do an adventure, to buy something that we've always wanted to buy. Now, I'm not saying, buy a boat. I'm not saying to buy an airplane. But if that's always been on your list, maybe you rent one. You go out and have fun for a couple days and you rent a boat. But starting to flex that spending muscle, I think is really important because I've seen so many people, it can take 2 or 3 years in retirement to get comfortable, and it's much easier to spend money when you're making money, and instead of saving 20%, you're saving 10% or 5%. That's an easier leap. What's really hard for people to do is to see their account balances drop because they're spending money. That's a big mental shift. And it's even more difficult to do that when you're in a period where the stock market goes down. And as I record this, the tariffs were just announced. And in the last 2 days, the market was down 10%. So there's a lot of recent retirees that are nervous with that. And I'm smiling. I'm a recent retiree, which is one of the reasons I'm smiling. It's not ideal, but it's also important during that period that we continue to spend money. We continue to do the things that we want to do, because boy, the last thing you want to find out is, okay, so you didn't spend money this year. You're really tightened the belt. And then you find out you have a health issue next year, and now you won't be able to do it. So job number one, I think, is to have a plan. You want to have confidence. It's hard to spend money if you don't have confidence. So job number one is to have a financial plan so that you know how much money you can spend comfortably. And I can tell you, most people watching this video, even if your financial plan, even if you spend a lot of money and get a financial plan, they say you can spend this much money a year. Many of us are going to have a challenge doing that. It takes a while to build up to that. Now, not all of us. Some of you are probably saying, "Hey, Azul, I'm not going to have any problem at all with that." But for most of us, we are. So job number one is to get a financial plan. Mea culpa, I'm guilty. I was a financial advisor for 20 years. I believe in the value of working with a fiduciary financial advisor. Fiduciary means they put your interests in front of their own. They get paid by you directly as opposed to by commissions of the products that they sell. I think the most expensive plan that you can get is one where a person says, "Oh, we do free financial plans for people." That's probably going to end up being a very costly plan for you. So do a financial plan. I realize that many of my audience is never going to use a financial advisor. They typically charge about 1% a year of the assets that they manage. And for many people, they're just saying, "Hey, so I know you say I should do that. I'm not going to do that." If that's you, I urge you to not use Excel. I urge you to not use Google Sheets. I urge you to use software that's designed to help you come up with a financial plan. There's several providers out there. The one that I like is called Bolden. It used to be New Retirement. And if you use this link above here or in the description to sign up for Bolden, it's very affordable. It's about $120 a year as I record this. You'll be supporting the channel. This video is not sponsored by them, but I am an affiliate. And I want to share, once you have that plan, once you have that confidence, you're going to have to continue to iterate on it and keep things up. But if it says that you can spend a certain amount a year, think about spending that. Think about starting to spend money before you retire. So when your time comes to retire, you hit the ground running and you can fully enjoy life at 60 years old. Life begins at 55. Life begins at 60. Life begins at whatever age you're at. Thanks for watching this one. The YouTube algorithm says this is the next video specifically for you that YouTube of mine that YouTube thinks that you should watch. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.